So I'm gonna have to kind of leave it to you because I don't even know where they are. I can't. Oh, I can see them. Hold on, but I sometimes they don't show up. You know. So
Yeah.
okay, so we're live now. We'll just wait for everyone to
Yay.
come in, and I can't wait to show off your awesome
My poster.
your awesome poster. Hey, Flick. Hey, Jess. Hey, how are you guys doing? Sorry, we got a little better this time. It's not a disaster like last time where I couldn't get my system to work. I was joking with Ella. I was like, we got one step closer to being, hey Mal, to being not a utter disaster like that last time. So if I continue at this pace, it's gonna be
In
it's gonna be
three
amazing.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Will be the most amazing stream ever.
Hey, Katie. We were just like I was rushing because I thought I had time. I had to go take care of something, and I thought I had time to rush back. And I was like, I'm going to like I made a list of everything that I have to do. So it's like reset the computer, make sure this mixer is on. Like
Yeah.
prevent myself from being idiot proof. Myself. So it was quite a spreadsheets. Yes, I do actually. Yes, it is the spreadsheets that I use. Well, not for my list. And Ella can tell you, like we're always looking in the hey Ray, we're always looking in the we're always working together within the spreadsheets, and I like to work in there.
Yeah.
But I did many years ago when I was at Funimation. Um, this girl who's a friend of mine, she worked for me at the time. She was the associate producer who worked for me. What was so funny was that was like peak OCD time for me. And so I I made her I gave her like guidelines. I can't believe I did this. This is how insane I had gotten. I told her, "Can you please when you when you save files, this is the file naming convention you should use."
Yeah. No, my last job had like everything like that, like version history, this and that. And it was great, but it was also like, can
It was
we
over the top, right? Like it
yeah.
gets over the top.
Yeah.
I even made her like the names of the tabs within the spreadsheet. Like I made her
Hmm.
like watch carefully. It was really crazy. So, but anyways, well, I'm glad to have all of you guys here tonight. We are so you know you guys have been able to meet Ella on Discord. This is the first time you're meeting her, live, and so Ella, just wanted to give you like the official big welcome here. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to have you because it's been you guys don't know how much help Ella's been to me behind the scenes, like, helping us get the RPG ready, working with you guys. Like, I've been working with her in the RPG. We're bringing on other artists who are going to be joining us at the studio now, too. Our little studio's growing. So we've been
Yeah.
very busy, right, Ella? So,
Yes. So busy. So busy.
yeah, so it's been
It's
crazy.
it's honestly been so wonderful, but it's been like, you just have two people and you're like, "Oh, it's just two people." And then suddenly it's four people, and then you're like, "Oh, it's just four people." And then it like you realize that your day is split up though between all of those people now, and you're like, "Oh," and they're all asking me things, and it's all complicated now. So it went from being like just an idea to like now it's like there are people, like here, like it, like
Yeah.
asking me for stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a big change, and it's an exciting change. So it's been great, and I can't wait for you guys to meet the artists that we're bringing on board too to help us. And the whole point is that they're going to be like working on the RPG. There's just no way that I can do all that, and plus, I'm looking for a specific style, to that kind of like takes my art to a different level. And so I know you guys have just fallen in love with my art, and that's what brought you here. But I'm big enough to admit that like I need like help with the art and bring in some other talented people.
Yeah.
So we thought tonight would be fun. Ella, do you want to introduce what we're going to be talking? Oh, wait, before you do that, I got to recognize her Fortuna poster behind her because she surprised me with that. She's like, "Can you send me the file for the map of the world?" And I thought, "Oh, she wants it for." And it ended up she like blew it up and put it
Yeah.
behind her, and that was a total surprise. So that was fun.
Well, I really like it, and I like going in and like looking at all the names and like figuring out like where in the world it might be, and you
Mhm.
see like things that you recognize and you instantly like are like, "Oh, I like that thing." Like if you're really into Greek and there's like a Greek section, you're like, "Oh, I know that," and I know sort of like that, that Captain America meme where he's like, "I understand that reference." That's what I feel like with the
Right.
map.
Right. That's exact. And all that map. Thanks, Mal. I've seen the comment on that. I appreciate that. That map took me 6 months to make, and that was like the first draft. I obsessed over every location and wanted everything to be like really well themed. So every country has a theme. Every city I chose had a purpose for being where it was. So it was a long process,
Yeah.
and uh, uh, you know I've always loved geography to start with and why things are the way they are. I mean, just picking the map like shape,
Yeah.
was like a couple week process. And even to this day, I'm still not completely satisfied, but it was the one that
Well,
I
I
was like,
know,
okay,
and
this
so
works.
people in the comments, they're saying they want the map. When is the map coming, Chris? When is it
Oh,
coming?
so I am doing now the global map. Like I've decided right now what you guys are seeing is really just like a quarter. It would be like seeing the US and Canada if you were to look at the globe. So about what is that, like
A
that's like,
hemisphere. Yeah, like
yeah,
a
like not even a full hemisphere. It's like a quarter of the northern hemisphere. So you don't see everything else. So what I'm doing is I'm going ahead and do the whole map. The other parts of it for this first release of the map won't be as detailed. Like I'm not going to have every city and all those, but you'll be able to see the locations of things, to
yeah.
help you kind of picture where everything is. And so it'll be it'll be a lot easier. So
Yeah. Well, maybe when we get the new map, we can put the old map out for like print,
yeah,
you know?
absolutely, absolutely. So and then I'm gonna put. So it's just there's so much to do there. Oh, hey Grayson, by the way, welcome. So we're seeing everyone. Katie, I think I said hi to you too. I'm not sure. So anyway, so yeah, had to recognize the map because the map was
Yeah.
it was gonna be a lot of fun with
Well,
that.
I thought it was better than like my scuff stained wall. So let's just pretend that like no,
Hey,
like I'm really
if
into it.
that's a great sales pitch. Hey, if you guys like have like a messed up wall, just use my
Yeah.
art to like band-aid your art, my art, your wall. So, right?
Yeah.
Hey DJ. So, anyways, so why don't you tell them what we're going to talk about today, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, so we thought it might be fun, as we sort of ramp up, we always want to kind of go back to the beginning. And so we thought about, what like might it have inspired us, like when we were kids, to like, because you get into art one way or another, it's got to be like watching something or doing something and being like, oh, that's what I want to do, with the rest of my life. And so we thought it might be fun to kind of talk about some childhood inspirations and and especially Chris. I mean, he's ancient and so much older than me, so it'll probably be very different, than mine. I mean, maybe you even made or worked on some of the stuff that inspired me, and like that, that's really cool.
Wow, 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 Ella, you have gotten super comfortable really fast. I think Jessica, you've been talking with Jessica on the side, and maybe the
No,
other mods. I get zero respect around here. I just want you to know this. No
I
one.
respect you so much. I Ancient is a term of endearment, like there's wisdom
Oh, I
in
like that. I can go with
that.
that. I can go with that. There's wisdom. Hey, I think I'm holding up pretty well.
Yeah. No, I think, yeah,
I think I'm
I think
holding
it's
up pretty
fair.
well. Yeah. So no, that's. You know what? I respect you more for that quick burn. That was good. That was good. Um, you know, it's funny because I've been interviewing artists over this, talking about the inspirations. I've been
Yeah.
interviewing. So there was a job ad position that went out for this particular concept role, and we had over 1,000 applicants for the role. It was a lot of people. And so that's why I was really quiet last week too, because Ella can tell you I was like in meetings all the time. Hey Pinky, I was I was in meetings all the time interviewing artists and going through portfolios and going, it was a lot of work, and it's hard to find the right style and the right fit, and you got to interview people. And what was so funny is that as I was talking to them, I actually talked to them about my own inspirations, because I was like, there is a certain style that for you guys, obviously my particular style. It's like I, like a lot of people from my generation, from the Great Depression, grew up with the grew up with hey Evan, grew up with I grew up with Disney, right? Disney,
Yeah.
Nickelodeon, things like that. And so my stuff was heavily inspired by cartoons, right? And it wasn't until I got to high school that we started learning about anime, because at the time the internet was not like fully accessible to me. Like I sent my first email when I was in 8th grade, I think, and that was 1994. So it's a long time ago.
I wasn't even born yet,
Yeah.
Chris. I
Okay.
want
Yeah.
you to
Thanks.
know that.
Thanks for reminding me. Yes. Well, I sent my first email before you were born, and so anyway, at the time we didn't know about anime, so I learned about anime like a lot of people did in college. When I started watching like Toonami, they would play Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Z was really my first anime, right? And so I started getting into anime, and who knew that years later I'd end up working at Funimation. But I think had I had anime inspiration earlier in my life, it would have affected my style earlier. But because I started with cartoons first, my stuff is always inherently more cartoony. And
Yeah.
I was a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan and all this. So my stuff had a very bubbly kind of look to it, So
Yeah.
I have struggled to break out of that. Like the promotional picture that I did of promotional poster for Flux Fantasy that features that profile of Hugo, that like super intense one. That
Yeah.
was my attempt at like trying to get more and more serious, but I have my limitations. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. What was like the moment that like as a kid you watched your first thing and you were like, that's like you just hooked. You know what I mean? Do you
okay,
remember?
you guys are going to be nice, okay, when I tell you this. I can't believe I'm saying this. It was the Alvin and the Chipmunks Adventure, and it was a movie that
Yeah,
came out. I don't know if you've seen that, the Chipmunk Adventure. I saw that movie in the theater as a
in
kid.
theaters.
In the theater, I saw that movie. My mom took me to see that movie, and I loved that movie. And that's the movie that made me go, I want to get into animation. And I think that movie came out in like 1987 or something. I remember. It is a good movie. It's actually a really good movie. It's the music. I own the CD. I
Yeah.
love the music. It's a great movie. It's
Well,
just
there's
silly.
something
It's so dumb.
about yeah, there's something about like your first thing that you love so much. If it's like a book or art piece, you just want like every piece of it, and it just like it really sticks with you so much, And like I remember at this a couple years ago, there was like this live action, not a couple, several years ago, many years ago, there was this live action Peter Pan movie, that everybody had a crush on the guy who played Peter, and the music in that movie, it was like awe-inspiring, and I loved that movie, and it woke something up inside me, and I had that soundtrack, so I totally get it. Like you have to like own every piece of the thing that like is the coolest thing ever. Like you get into Pokemon and like you get every game, you get every manga, you like get all of the stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. How about, I mean, what was it for you? What got you into,
Oh
you know,
man. Yeah, I think it had to be Teen Titans was the best.
mm,
Like, my dad was a huge nerd, and so I was the oldest, and so he was super young. My parents are super young, and they were still, like, teenagers, basically, and so they were like, "We wanna watch Saturday cartoons,"
yeah.
with this small child, and so then I just started I started watching Teen Titans, and then I got so into it, and I have been a huge comic book fan ever since. But that was like the moment. Like I used to jump off my couch and like land like Robin does, in that opening sequence. Like I was like I am him. Like I'm Robin, like, and that was like the moment that I was like. But then getting into it, it was I drew fan art, and I would you could send in stuff, and I was like so shy, but I was like I have to, like it's my favorite thing, and for somebody who is like so shy to like do that, like it must have had a great impact on me, because I would never have done that otherwise. But that, and like Tom and Jerry, I mean, like I remember, do you remember there's this one episode of Tom and Jerry in which they like do the animation, and they show the animation like chasing Jerry around and
Wait,
stuff.
are
Do you
you
know what I'm
talking
talking about?
about? Hold on, are you talking about like real classic Tom and Jerry from like
Yeah.
the 1940s? Or are you talking about? I
Yes.
don't remember. The one I always remember is the one that everyone talks about, is the one where they freeze the kitchen. Like that's the famous
Yeah,
one. Like
that's a
that's the
great
one that
one.
always sticks in my mind. I don't think I've seen this one.
There's one, and I don't know, people in the chat might remember the blueprint. Yes, Mal, the blueprint episode. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying. There's this episode in which they like do the like kind of show how to do the animation, and like it's very like kind of meta, like fourth wall. And I remember watching that and being like, people draw this, and it was like I could do that. I could draw a mouse being chased, and that was such a big moment for me, that I was like, people like made this. Like it's not just like a fictional world. Like people like actually produced this, and they did it. So that was a huge moment.
Yeah, I mean that. Hey Eddie, I saw you come in. You know that like that was it for me too. Was there was an appeal to the old MGM cartoon designs, Disney.
Mhm.
There was a because they were very lush compared to like modern, like they were talking about Hanna-Barbera. Hanna-Barbera found its success in limited animation, right? So
Yeah.
it was the to get animation for television that was cost effective, they had to do it that way, right? They had to find ways to
Yeah.
cheat. So it was a result of like a business model to make animation on the cheap. So that's why it looks that way. It's endearing on its own, but it didn't have the Disney
Yep.
gold standard at the time. Um, you know, I uh, now when it comes to series, like I think what really I'm going to talk about a really old show, probably the oldest show I'm going to reference. I don't when we talk about Tom and Jerry and stuff like that, that's like of course like given old, but I'm talking like it's funny because I'm going to mention a show from the 80s and it feels like it's older than Tom and Jerry just because of like
Mhm.
the reference of it. There was this show called The Mysterious Cities of Gold
Mm.
that was an amazing action adventure. It was a French Japanese um, adventure series, and it was like anime style, like early anime style.
Mhm.
And actually, here's a little trivia I'm going to drop to you guys. The Marco's last name Mendoza is a nod to one of the characters in the show, and it's meant to reference my inspiration to want to do a big epic story of my own someday. And I think it came out like 1984 or something like that. But I didn't see it until I would in 1984 I was 4 years old. I couldn't understand. I wouldn't be able to understand that. But I think it was about 86 or so when I saw that show, and it was on Nickelodeon. It was a so what Avatar was. Well, Avatar came out when I was a teenager or something too. It wasn't that long ago. No, 20 years ago. So I was about 20, I think, when it came out. So what Avatar was for that particular generation coming out,
Yeah.
the Mysterious Cities of Gold was for us. That was our Avatar at the time.
Mm.
And it was an amazing show. It it had more limited animation just because of the time, but just the epicness of the show and how it ends
Yeah.
is just incredible. So anyway, I'm rambling now.
No, it's good. It's good. You get a little like I think what's really important is what people don't realize is like watching TV, people are like, "Oh, don't watch TV," and oh, like go do something important with your life. But like if you're an artist, it's so important because you pick up little pieces of things and you put them in your little tool belt and then you use them later. Like, "Oh, I really like that trope," or "I really like that character idea," or "I really like that hairstyle," whatever it is. And then suddenly like years later you've put together everything and it's like a collage of your experiences, and it's so wonderful because it's like you look at some of my work and it's like, oh, that's Teen Titans, like, oh, that's this thing. And it's like, yeah, it's important to know, like, you can go back and almost map your journey through the things that you love.
Absolutely. I mean, it was funny because when you were talking about this, I was thinking through like the different, like how those inspirations like mapped my path, right? Like it started with Disney and
Yeah.
MGM, these old cartoons. Then we got into, um, the stuff like like when I was a kid, like the Saturday morning cartoons, right? Which were, I don't think really are a thing anymore. I don't think there's really a Saturday morning cartoon culture anymore, just because
No.
at the time, back in the day, you could only watch cartoons like on Saturdays, or there would be like a special like we used to watch it after school, like the USA Network, which I don't even know if it exists anymore. There used to be this thing called the
Yeah.
Cartoon. Does it still exist? There.
Yeah. Not, it's different, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. It used to have this thing called the Cartoon Express that would happen like after school, so it would show all this like these cartoons. And so anyone who's a fan of like Sonic the Hedgehog, the series from Sat AM is what it's called, Sonic Sat AM. Anyone a fan of that? That was the Sonic series. Like that's the one that like all of them are held up against that. Okay, I just want you to know that. And what I loved about the Sat AM
Oh, they're
show.
agreeing with you. I
Okay,
was disagreeing and they're agreeing, so I'm wrong.
I mean it was a great. It was another one. The reason why was that so many cartoons were like serialized
Yeah.
or episodic, should I say, episodic as opposed to serialized. So the problem was that you didn't have a continuity in a lot of shows. It was like everything was standalone, right?
Yeah.
But these shows that I'm talking about, like the Mysterious Cities of Gold or Sonic Sat AM, these were shows that like had an ongoing story. It's just like Avatar, right? Where they would keep
Yeah.
going and the story would build on itself and it was going somewhere. It wasn't just like, here's some entertainment, which there's a place for that, right? I love stuff like that too. But being able to watch a show progress, and then when we got to the end of the second season of Sat AM, where if you haven't watched a show, it's a lot of fun. You should watch it. There's this like amazing ending to it, and you're like, I can't believe this happened. And then they never made a third season, which sucked. But it was such an awesome show,
Yeah.
such an awesome show.
They did us dirty with that and with Teen Titans. Oh, so
Oh,
dirty. So
Teen.
dirty, Cliff.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about that. So you're
Oh,
talking about the
Teen.
not Teen Titans Go. You're talking about Teen
No,
Titans. Okay,
Teen Titans. Yeah.
Teen
But
Titans was.
Listen, Teen Titans Go has its space. It's
It
actually very
does.
funny. It totally does. But no, I'm talking about the original Teen Titans. I'm not that young to not close, but not.
It was Teen Titans. The original one was really good. It was amazing. I used to watch
Yeah.
that show. I don't know. I was probably in my 20s when that show came out, early 20s. And Teen Titans Go is actually funny.
Yeah.
It's really funny, but the problem is that if they would have kept both going, like they should be two continuities. One is
Yeah.
Teen Titans Go just for fun, right? And then
Yeah.
Teen Titans, such a good show. Such
Yeah.
a good show. Yeah, so some of the other things like, I naturally obviously, oh, for me when I learned to draw, so when I first started learning to draw, I was a big Mega Man fan. And so I used
I
to.
think that's pretty obvious, but go ahead. Keep
Thanks.
going.
Oh, what I used to do is the video games used to come with instruction books, right? Like you get like your
Mhm.
Nintendo cartridge and
Yes.
there'd be an instruction book. And you'd open it and there used to be art in these things, right? That was so much fun about getting the instruction book was that. So I used to give the instruction books to my mom and she worked at a doctor's office and she'd take it to the copy machine there and she'd blow them
Mhm.
up, right? She'd blow
Mhm.
them up really big and then she'd bring it home to me and I'd have all these like huge, I think that was really my first real, like, unbeknownst to me, exposure to anime, because that was like, that style is
Yeah.
an anime style. And I would start tracing it. I would put tracing paper on top and I would start tracing. And that's how I started to learn to draw, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, the video game instructions books, you just don't, there was something. Okay, I'll shut up because I keep rambling. I'll let Ella talk, but let me just say this. Before, like, the web was a thing, you couldn't, you, if you were a fan of something, you had to either learn it from people around you, like get news, or through magazines, right? You didn't have like up to the minute access. So it was a big deal. One of my favorite movies was The Wizard from 1991 or something. Look up The Wizards, Fred Savage, and it was basically a big Nintendo commercial, right? And
Whoa,
do you
yeah.
know this movie?
Now I know of it. But I could never like say like, "Oh yeah, like I've watched it."
It's like 90s tastic, okay? Because it was like
Wow.
1989 or something like that. It was an amazing, like, for me, it blew my mind as a kid to watch that movie, because that was when we saw the first glimpse of Super Mario 3, right?
Mhm.
And so we saw it and it was unbelievable. Like, my little, like, 9-year-old brain exploded when that movie came out. And, like, that's what made those kind of things really special, magazines and things like that, because that's how we got stuff. It felt really special every time there was, like, you could see one little drawing, right? Like, they would do, Nintendo
Yeah.
Power would have um like these features, like, here's the behind the scenes of Super Mario Brothers, and these fuzzy pictures, you could barely tell what was going on, but that's all you could see because there was no web at the time, right?
Right.
So yeah, it is the most yes, it is the most 90s movie you could possibly watch. It's amazing. I will watch it just for the nostalgic value of it. It's really dumb, but it's wonderful at the same time.
Yeah. I And so what was your first like so you started drawing, with the books. What was your first like character that you were like, I have to learn how to draw this, and you would draw it like over, you know what I mean? Draw it over and over and over and over again. What was the
It
first one
was
for you?
the first one was Mega Man, and then it
Yeah.
was Mario, and I was a big Mario fan, right? And then at the time, those who kind of grew up at that time, there was a big divide between, you know, if you were a Nintendo fan or a Sega fan. There was a big, you were either a Genesis or a Super Nintendo fan, right? And so I was a huge Secret Sonic fan, but I was a Nintendo fanboy. So that was very, like, those two things couldn't exist together. Kind of
Yeah.
like escape artists and ink artists in our world. Those things can't coexist, you know?
Yeah.
And so um that was a big, so I loved, but my parents would not buy me a Sega, right? Like, they'd be like, you have a Nintendo. So, and I was very happy with my Nintendo, but I really wanted to play Sonic, so I would play at my friend's house Sonic,
Yeah.
and yeah. So to answer your question, that I would say it's those characters.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I was really into Pokemon, and my dad was a high school teacher at the time, and so he would grab my little Game Boy and he would take it to class, and he would get the older kids to trade him all the best Pokemon, and then I'd get it back, and I'd have like level 100 whatever, and I'd go into my first gym and like just absolutely destroy them. But I remember I was so into Pokemon, I would draw them all the time and like start making them up. I think that's like really for a lot of the kids in my generation, that was the first like real creative, like
Hmm.
you could put your own character into this world, and you're like, what? Like it was just something that was like it was like an unknown, like people do like the Spider-Man movie came out and everybody was doing like their spider sonas, and like
Right,
making all the art for
right.
them. Pokemon was like our thing. We were like, what kind of trainer are you? And like you go out on the recess and play Pokemon like with each other. Like you would be a Pokemon, and it was so embarrassing, but it's like it's so fun, and you do it. But I remember that was my first manga, and I didn't realize that they're backwards, and so
Hmm.
I just read it how you're like how a normal book is.
Oh, you did? You read it?
Yeah, and I was like, how
Yeah,
intriguing. I was like,
yeah,
what an interesting story. And apparently I just liked the pictures, because,
yeah.
but anyway, that was such a fun.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh. It, that's funny that you did that. But actually, you're not the first person I've heard say that, that have read
Yeah,
it because they didn't know that it was the other way around.
yeah,
Um, I uh, I was in the theater when the first Pokemon movie came out, and
yeah.
it was me and my now ex. We went to go watch the Pokemon movie. We were the only adults in that theater with no kids. All the
Hmm.
kids were in there with, now all these kids are adults now, certainly. But at the time, they all had their Pokemon like um, binders with all their cards, and it was so fun to
Yes.
watch them go through their books and get excited when they saw something. See, that's the kind of stuff that like excites me, right? Is when
Yeah.
people get, I love when people get so, regardless of their age, whether they're little kids, you're in the middle of your life or later, when people get so like invested in a world and
Hmm.
characters that they get excited, and they would open up their binders, their like little Pokemon binders, and they'd be like, I have that card or I have that card, and they'd be talking with their like best friends during the movie and getting excited about it. I love that stuff, you know. You're not there really to watch it for the narrative depth of that movie, okay? Like let's be honest. You're there to see like your favorite Pokemon. So, anyways. Oh,
There's something about. Oh,
mhm.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, Mal said that Boofy says hi.
Hi, Boovie.
Hey, bye. Hey, Boofy. Sorry,
I
go ahead.
think there's I think there's something really beautiful. Okay, so like I'm really like being very vulnerable all of a sudden. But I was a theater kid, right? And so I did theater. My major is theater. So for all of you who are doing art, maybe one day you could get a really cool job like I have. Don't worry, your time will come. But I was in theater, and and it's okay, you know what I mean? And people are like, oh, that's so embarrassing, like you did theater, like you gross, like you're so embarrassing, you must have like pretended to be a clown one day. And it's like, yeah, you're right, I did, but like it was fun and it was something that I like to do. And I think that's something about art sometimes is it's like, oh, you like to draw Spider-Man, like how embarrassing. And it's like, what? Like, be vulnerable. Like we're there's tons of people who like what you like too, and Pokemon was one of those things where people, our teachers were like embarrassed of us, but like we were having fun, and it didn't matter because we didn't have that like social pressure of like you shouldn't go outside and pretend to be a Pokemon. We just
Right.
did it because
Yeah.
it was fun, you know.
And that's okay. See, that's what.
All these theater kids, hi theater
Yeah, I
kids.
seen all the theater kids. But see, that's what's so awesome is that you don't want to grow up to be. It's funny because I don't like, I hate seeing parents who've taken being an adult so seriously.
Right?
Being an
Yeah.
adult doesn't mean you have no passions anymore, right? And I think that's what a lot of people go through, is that they a lot of adults, they're like, I cannot like anything anymore, right? I have to
Yeah.
just like pay my bills, and that's awful. Like, why do you want to live that way? I mean, look at my office here. Like
Yeah.
I love, I've never been shy of it. I made a whole career off of it, being able to do it. And it doesn't mean you have to make a career off of it, but it's okay to be, but now it's okay to be a fan, right? You can be an adult and be a fan of MC, of the Marvel universe or of anime or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see that. And actually, when I was at Funimation, I was there at a very special time when when anime was really rocketing up and
Yeah.
started becoming mainstream, really mainstream. You know, we were the we had become the top provider of entertainment on like Xbox One and PlayStation Network and um, Walmart and Best Buy. We had
Hmm.
huge racks of stuff. Ironically, while I was at Funimation, the many years I was there, I was watched the least amount of anime because I was so busy. I actually watched
Yeah.
less anime when I was there than anything else. So anyway, I'm rambling.
Well, no, it's so what's so important about it is what people don't understand is that stories and art influence you no matter what. You could be an office guy who's doing data. I do a lot of data. I do a lot of data in this job.
Mhm.
But the important thing is the story, the way that you do it, and how vulnerable you can be will get you to places that you never realize.
Mhm.
Even if it's data or plumbing or electricity work or building a house, the way that you act and the way that you are, it comes from stories, it comes from art. We're not, our work and our personalities obviously play a part into who we are, but like art and stuff has a huge effect, and
Yeah.
especially if you could be more vulnerable. The most vulnerable people get the farthest, and you can't be embarrassed to ask for something, to ask for a raise, to ask for this. And so sometimes it's like, oh, you were a theater kid, and it's like, yeah, well, I also interview really well, and I also like am charming, in social
You
situations sometimes,
are, yeah.
you know. So it's like people think like there's not skill in like art, and or well, I mean, obviously there's skill in art, but like that sometimes it might not matter or anything, but it totally does, and it can help you in anything that you do.
It's so true. It's absolutely true. And we talked about so many things on that live stream we had the other day, where it was kind of like
Mhm.
just a come to Jesus live stream, where I was
Yeah.
vulnerable, right? I opened up and I just said a bunch of stuff that I had just gone through, and we kind of went through a life live stream that day and talked about things. And I remember talking about being successful in life is not money, right? It's not about money. It's about you can being the best you can be the best teacher, be the best mom, be the best friend you could possibly be, right? Whatever you're going to
Yeah.
do, be the best of it and live it, because you don't know how much time you have on this planet, right?
Right.
To be your way. And I try to take that very seriously,
Yeah.
and also we spend so much time at work that I want to have fun doing it. Like Ella has passed her 2 weeks now. So she's been with me 2 weeks. I think we've had a good, uh, I mean, Ella, what's amazing about her is that she is so passionate about this. She's jumped right into it and like is making me sweat because I'm like trying to keep up with her, with all this stuff going on. But we want this to be fun, right? Like that's the whole point, is that if we don't have fun in what we're doing, the stuff that we create out of this little studio is not going to be fun, right?
Yeah.
So,
You know what I think we should do is we should talk now about our most embarrassing inspirations. Now that we are
oh,
being like the thing that we're kind of ashamed that inspired us. And you should put, if you're here live and you're in Twitch, you should also tell us so that we can all be
yes, yeah,
we'll be vulnerable and
absolutely.
embarrassed together.
Oh God. Hold on a second. I was embarrassing with my Alvin and the Chipmunk stuff, but hold on.
I'm gonna think of. Oh, I
Uh,
know. I
what?
know mine.
What?
I'm not gonna go first. Okay, so I was at a pivotal point in my life in eighth grade when I had to choose between theater and softball. I played sports for a long time, and I was at a pivotal point because both of the things were after school. And I was in a musical, and the musical was Cats.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about it, and
I have the soundtrack to
yeah,
get.
here's the thing. I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved the art. I loved the set that we had built, and you can like climb around in it, and I loved the lights. And so one day I was sitting down and I was like looking up at the stage lights, and I just remember like feeling the heat on my face, and I just remember being like, "Oh, I don't want to go to softball practice, tomorrow. Like I wish I could just do this forever." And then I was like, "Wait, why don't I just do this forever?" And then it was such like a pivotal moment for me because it, like looking back, it was embarrassing. Like I wish it was had been any other musical, but it was. If you don't know Cats, go
Hey,
watch the movie
but
Cats. Shout
listen,
out to
Cats.
Cats.
But here's the thing, Cats, if I recall, it might still hold this record, but is like the most successful play on Broadway. Am I right
Yeah,
about that? Like of all
it's the
time?
longest running. It's one of the longest running musicals of all time on Broadway. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
see, you think it's embarrassing, but it's successful because
it's so
that means
successful. Yeah.
millions of people liked it, you know? Like okay, if I were to say some of my embarrassing things, okay, Beyblade maybe. Beyblade was
Beyblade.
something I liked. Beyblade.
Yeah.
Uh I would also say that okay, we can talk live action stuff now too. Like there was
Mhm.
live action stuff. I was a huge Full House fan. I loved Full
Mm.
House. And I just liked the
And that was embarrassing to you to like that?
well, not then because it was a very popular show, right? Like that was
Yeah.
TGIF stuff. But if I were to say that now, I don't
Yeah.
know. What I loved about it was that it was not. I don't know who I was talking to about this. I think I was talking to someone I was interviewing for these artist roles. Oh, that's who it was. I was talking to someone, and we were talking about like why. Bear with me. Why, like, I'm not a brony. Let's just make that clear. I'm not a brony, but why My Little Pony was so popular, right? And it's a cute show. Like the reboot of it, like the one I don't know if there's been another one since, but whichever one was the popular one, right?
Yeah.
There was a I was like, why is this show so popular, and why, outside of like the other like weird stuff, that people are so into this show? And I read an article about it, and they had talked about how the reason why My Little Pony was so successful was that it was about it was not cynical. The show was not cynical. Everything about it, like the friendship, they were serious about these things, right?
Yeah.
And we live in a very cynical world right now where everything is like you cannot enjoy anything because everyone is cynical or doubtful of everything. And that's why I like shows like Full House and things like that, that even though they were not cynical, there's something
Yeah.
that's just like, it's nice to have something that's like, it's okay to be like a family thing. It's okay to enjoy something for friendship, or whatever
Yeah.
the case is. And so I, I think there's so much cynicism. All you have to do is look at Twitter to see cynicism alone. It's like dripping in.
Not our pages. Our pages are full of light and hope. So you should.
That's right. That's right.
Other
And by the
pages,
way,
not
no
ours.
disrespect to like bronies. Like I'm not like an official brony or anything, but I just thought the show was cute,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
I'm the oldest of all of my siblings, and so for many, many, many years, I was like watching Doc McStuffins, like, and they weren't even in the room, and I was
yeah,
like, "What? It's on!" Like for my siblings, like I just liked it. It was fun. It was cute. It was like, Handy Manny was on, and that was great. Like I was like, I'm learning.
yeah. Like I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know what else would be more embarrassing than those things, because I'm like, I've never really been embarrassed about. Okay, when I was growing up, like especially for my love for animation and stuff. So when I graduated from high school, I had a what do you call it? A like my high school graduation, I'm wearing a tie and it has the Looney Tunes on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, I am going to be in this business somehow, and
Yep.
I was so excited about it, and I to this day I always point to that, and so whenever I hear kids, when their parents or whatever, like, oh, don't be ridiculous as cartoons, whatever, they don't realize that
Mhm.
cartoons, anime in particular, is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
People have made a lot of money off anime, and it's a big business. When I
Yep.
was at Funimation, we had over, I think, 150 employees. It was a big company, you know,
Yep.
and I've made my career off that stuff as well. And so anytime people make fun of it or whatever, I just point and say, look, and I went from that to being executive at other companies as well. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a
and
tough
video
business.
games, yeah. Well, and people, I think, video games get a really bad rap, especially these days. But I mean, like, look, we're on Twitch, which is like built by video game streamers. You know what
That's
I
right.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
and it's such an important, like, the stories that we get from some of these games are like incredible. These extensive things, like player driven human. It's like the core of humanity. You know what I mean? In a little video game, and you're like, it's evolved so much, and those people who made those games played Mario, played Pokemon. You know what I mean? And so it's so important. Like, who knows what games we'll make? With these games as our base, like, who it's gonna be crazy.
absolutely. And I saw Katie was mentioning in the comments like Kids Next Door, Codename Kids Next Door. Those are cute
Yes.
shows.
Yeah.
I grew up on the Rugrats, like that was my time period. So
Mhm.
Rugrats, if you guys know what that is, uh, I don't know if you guys know what
Shout
that is. Yeah,
out.
I don't know if you guys know, or Rocco's Modern Life. That was me. I grew up on that stuff. If you don't know
all
what
of my
Rocco's, go
all
ahead.
of my animation friends love that show, and I was always just like a little bit younger than them, and I was like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, look, and we've got like Dante was mentioning in the comments there that he grew up constantly being embarrassed of liking way too much stuff like Digimon and Jake Long. Jake
Yep.
Long was a great show too. I love that show. But it didn't stop you. He said it didn't stop me from enjoying it, but I didn't talk about it because I was afraid of being judged. It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And I think nowadays it's a little easier. I could be wrong. I'm not in school anymore, but I think it might be a little easier now because it's more in the mainstream. Um, I
Hmm.
think it's worse when you're like in middle school. I think you go from like elementary and then middle school, everyone's trying to be cool. And then when you get to high school, I think people are more accepting of anime and stuff like that because college is like anime prime. Like, because what happens is that anime appeals mainly to like 15 to 34. That's the audience for the main audience for anime. And it's usually because you grow up with cartoons. You go through
Yeah.
this like period where it's like cartoons aren't cool because that's baby stuff. That's what middle
Yeah.
schoolers go through. And then what happens is that you when you start becoming a young adult, you get into anime
Yeah.
because it's the um it's
The hardcore
it is.
cartoons.
It is the hardcore cartoons. You know, Code Lyoko is a great show. Ed, Ed, and Eddie, that was a good show too. I'm looking at Powerpuff Girls. You know,
Yeah.
uh, and I used to watch. I used to love watching Adult Swim.
Yeah.
Adult Swim was amazing. I haven't watched it in years. I don't even know if it's still a thing. It's still a thing.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the new is it the new Superman like anime? I say with quotes on there. Isn't that? I don't know. Somebody correct me. I don't remember. But yeah. Yes. Thank you, Jess.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Adult Swim is still a thing for sure. For
Okay.
sure. Because it's very. It's like almost more. It's like regaining a lot of.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
because I
Superman
don't.
show is
I
great. Yeah.
Mhm. I don't watch regular TV anymore just because I'm mainly work not because I don't want to watch TV. I'm just constantly working on stuff and I never stop to watch TV.
Hmm.
And so you know, these and there's so many good cartoons, especially there was some great stuff like Infinity Train. I don't know if any of you saw
Yeah.
Infinity Train. It was an amazing show. Um oh, Star versus the Forces of Evil ended up being a pretty good show. I enjoyed that one. There was some great Cartoon Network shows
Phineas
like
and
that.
Ferb and Gravity Falls was like that was those were like my two extra parents, you know? Like
Hmm.
inventing and like writing wise. Yeah, those were the ones.
So real quick before we continue, just to have to take a quick little like thing. Be sure if you look below down there on the lower third, there's a thing. If you haven't joined our socials, if you go to fluxdestiny.world, it'll take you to all our different socials where you can find us. That's basically the link tree, right? So you can go there and if you haven't joined those, be sure to check it out. Ella runs the Flux Fantasy channels. They're linked there too, so you can help her hit her numbers because we're trying to grow those and join that group.
If you don't,
So
I'll be fired and you'll never see me again. So you better do it if you
there'll be
haven't.
someone else besides Ella over here. Okay. Oh yes, the Owl House was a great show. And
Yeah.
then let me also mention that if you haven't joined our Discord community, we have an awesome, really awesome Discord community. We're really lucky because we've got just this cool, supportive place. And I hope you guys, if you haven't joined it already, if you go down, you'll see the link below, fluxfandom.com. That will take you to to the to the Discord community. I hope you join us there because we have like all these cool people, and you can join everyone else in making fun of me. Like Jessica's already threatening my life if I fire Ella. So
If I
yeah.
get fired, I'll have done something so heinous that I'll have deserved it.
So and Ella knows all the lore. Okay, so she knows everything now. So we have to be careful with her.
So if
She
I
knows too
disappear
much.
mysteriously,
Yeah.
you know what happens to me.
She knows too much. She knows too much. Um, so yeah. So where do you want to take us from here? What's next? What do you want to? What's the next part?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Well, did we go through? Okay, so we talked about we talked about the embarrassing stuff. We talked about the next thing you wanted to talk. Like it was like, okay,
Oh,
when
oh,
did
oh,
we?
yeah, yeah, I remember. Okay. When did you start like pursuing it not just like as a hobby, but like as a career, like where you were like, it turned into something like you got your first gig or your first art job, or like what happened? Did you like go to college for it? Was it like intentional? Like what was the moment that was like, um,
Well, when I went
made you?
to, it's funny because I went to the University of Texas in Austin,
Mhm.
and I applied to the communication school there. I, and it was very hard to get into the radio, TV, film school, and so I
Yep.
went there. But the thing was, it was still really hard to. I didn't have a mentor, you know, who would help me, so I had to kind of figure things out. So I went into the advertising business first. So I started doing graphic design and things like that. And I knew that somehow through advertising that I would find my way, because I knew I wanted to get into animation, and I knew, and so we started doing animation for advertising and and
Yeah.
graphic design and things like that. And eventually, a series of events led me, and slowly I started getting more and more into the industry. And I've told a story before where I ultimately started my own studio in 2005 with a couple partners. I was like only 25 when I started it. Um, no, 20, 2005. Yeah, 2005 was 25. I I started a studio where we were doing animation for video games and for television, and so we were
Yeah.
doing outsourced. We had a studio in Asia and we had a studio in Texas, and we were doing all sorts of stuff there. And I may have mentioned this story before, but it was, I went to this conference, and had I not gone to this party, this MTV party, I think I've told this story before, my life would have taken a completely, I would have never been at Funimation. I never would have done any of those things had I not gone to this one specific party. Um, so really, I had to accept this is a very hard industry to get into, because it's not like being a doctor or a lawyer, right? Like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, there's like a path
Yeah.
to get there. If you want to get into this entertainment in any of these forms, it's difficult. And so, and it's getting more difficult. It's not impossible, it's just difficult. And so I tell
Yeah, it's
people
so
that,
accessible. It's so
yeah.
accessible with like YouTube and everybody making their own content, which is amazing.
Mhm.
And people are found so much easier, and it's so much easier to get started, but it's so much more difficult to like make it a success, because
Right.
people, they give up.
Absolutely. So it's gotten way more difficult. And it's good and bad, because there's the thing is, it used to be that we used to have like the studios, right? Like there used to be
Mhm.
the studios, and they were the gatekeepers, right? And that created this wall. The problem, the good and bad thing about the internet is that now everyone can make content, but the bad
Mhm.
thing is that everyone can make content, right? So you have to kind of break through all the noise for the good stuff to rise to the surface. And a lot of times there's a lot of good stuff that gets hidden under the surface, because that. I've seen, I know really talented artists that are mutuals of mine on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, Twitter, where they deserve way more followers, and they just haven't been picked up yet by the algorithm. Like that happened to me for the longest time on Twitter. I had maybe 300 followers, and then one day something happened, and suddenly people started seeing my work on there,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of being persistent, you know. So anyway, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's so interesting to see everybody's journey is so different. The way that I got my last job was I was working at a Barnes and Noble, and then my dad came into my break room. I don't know how he got in there. He like broke in somehow. He got in and he was like, "Hey, I have a friend who is here going to see a play, and you should go meet him and interview for his animation company." And I was like, right now, like,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, I don't know, like I've just been at work for 8 hours and I'm sweaty and you know what I mean, like I was just gross and all this stuff. So then I was like, fine, I guess I'll do it. So then I went, and I'm sitting in this theater, and like I have to watch the first part of Sound of Music, which is Sound of Music is great, but I'm sitting there like nervous, like I'm gonna have to go talk to this guy. Well, then I go up to him during the middle of intermission, and he just pulls me aside like in the aisle, and he's like, let's have an interview. And I was like, what? Like right here, right now. And he's like asking me about my favorite animation, like what I like to do and all this stuff. And then 2 weeks later, he brought me on as a PA. And then from then on, I just like moved up. But it was such a random, crazy, like you know a guy who knows a guy, but then like he sees your stuff because like he had seen my stuff, he had seen some of the like work that I had done previously, and it was just like that little bit of connection is like you never know when it's going to happen. I mean, it could be right now, like it could be somebody here in this chat, like who knows, like it could be anybody. So
Listen, that what you're saying is like wisdom, right? Like that's the thing is that you are hitting exactly what I was saying earlier was that, and this is not just in entertainment, this is in anything you want to do, right? You have to be persistent. You have to be willing to like put yourself out there. I've seen many
yeah,
talented artists who are too afraid of putting their work out there. Someone's going to steal it. Someone is going to make fun of it, whatever. And then they never get anywhere because they're too afraid. And the
yeah,
problem is that if you don't do that, the way you eke out a career for yourself is that you have to become known. You have to put your stuff out there and you have to be willing to be vulnerable. Like Ella said earlier, the vulnerability is so important. And you have to be willing to meet people. You never know. The reason the whole Funimation story I told you, I can actually trace it to a phone call that I took that I didn't have to take. I almost didn't take. It had nothing to do with anything. There's a lady I knew in Austin. She was calling me and she says, do you want to meet? There's these two guys. They have a technology company. Do you want to meet them? Like they do like web stuff. And like I was up to here with web stuff. I knew many people in the space.
yeah,
Like I was like, why do I don't need to. I was like, but I was like, you know what? And I always had this philosophy of you open every door, you just never know. And I said, don't be a jackass. Take the call. You just never know, right? It's like a 15-minute call. And these guys ended up being my partners in the first studio. We
yeah,
met, we hit it off. Had I not opened that studio, I never would have gone to New York. I never would have met the people at MTV, and I never would have ultimately met the CEO of Funimation, which led me like that phone call, that one phone call, and I can keep going back from that. Like you can't just separate one instance. There was
yeah,
actually when I was 20, like all these events link to each other. When I was 20, I went to this like luncheon that someone invited me to, like for like a business thing, and I was like, I don't want to go, but I went. Had I not gone there, I would not have met the woman who introduced me to the other woman ultimately, who introduced me to the partners who started the studio. Like, it's a
yeah.
chain reaction, you know? And I feel like what you said earlier is so important. You have to connect with people. You just never know who's going to intersect in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's so funny too is like one of the biggest things that got me that job is because I was talking about Avatar The Last Airbender and talking about how it inspired me. And like that's kind of why we're doing this sort of live is it's like because those are the things that connect us. Those are the moments that we go, "Oh, like me too. Like I'm also vulnerable and I also liked that embarrassing thing." And it was deeply important for me to like learn how to connect with people like that on things that they liked. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's super interesting.
And, I think kind of here, what we believe in is the importance of escapism, and not escapism for the sake of escaping, like to escape your problems, but a place where you can go and exercise your creativity, right? That's like why we're doing the RPG, right? And that was the whole reason why I made Flux Destiny to start with, was that I wanted to create a universe that was big enough and had its own unique qualities to it, like the Karmistry magic system and things like that, so that people would want to make friends around it and make OCs and have their own adventures in it outside of the mainline story. Because right now, like I'm sure a lot of you are really tired of the reboots. There's like reboots like crazy, like, and many of them are very unsuccessful because they're just creatively devoid of what made the original, why people liked the original, right? You've seen that with Avatar. Avatar's run into that problem several times. Or the fandoms have become very toxic, right? Or the studios attack their fans, right? It's like you just should like, they're entitled to the fandom. No, it's like your fans don't just like it because it's the IP. There's so many reasons for it. And so that's why, like, here with what we do with Flex Destiny is so important, is because we want this to be a place where you guys love to come and hang out and make friends. How many friends have been made here? I mention this all the time. There's all these like really close friends. Oh, it's Oscar.
I want you to know that he opened the door.
Yeah.
Like, he reached up and opened it. So I guess he's here now.
See, look, he wants to be part. That's so cute.
Sorry, keep
Oh,
going.
you'll see. You'll see Oscar like will start like loving on her and everything. It's super cute. Look, see, now, they don't want to hear me talk anymore. They just want to see the cat. So I'll
I'm
just shut up for a
sorry.
minute. No,
I'm
no, no.
sorry.
No, this is cute. I
I
wish mine came.
he reached up with his little grubby paws and opened the door. Opened it.
They're so smart.
If they need a live action Simba, he'd be the one, wouldn't you?
That's
Okay.
so cute. That is so cute.
Okay.
My
Ooh.
cat is very macho though. He has to love me. Like I can't hold him.
Yeah.
He will come and like love on me, but if I touch him, he runs away. And so anyway, does Oscar have orange cat vibes? Is he an orange cat?
Yes.
Yeah.
The worst. The worst.
So, you know what's funny is that you guys, uh, my whole personality on Discord is always responding with cat memes and stuff. So Ella just discovered. So when we work in Slack for business stuff. So we have our stuff outside of Discord. And I warned her. I was like, "You're gonna start getting cat reacts." She's like, "Oh, I wish we had GIFs in Slack." And I was like, "Oh, don't worry. I've got a treasure trove of cat reacts that we use." So
He's behind my computer right now. If you see my computer shaking, it's because he's rubbing his head on it.
oh, is he trying to get your attention?
He's just like being all cute, but like malicious intentions.
That's so cute. That's so cute.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue with what you were saying.
No, no, I was just saying that.
We were saying like friends, like how many people you've met, like just here,
I
that
mean,
we would have never met.
listen, and many people here who started off as my fans ended up becoming my friends and then really amazing supporters. I mean, I'm gonna accidentally leave off people, so please don't be insulted. But I have some people, Jessica, who's been here forever, who's just a dear friend of mine. We joke around and laugh a lot, but she's like a sister to me. Josh, Katie, Eddie, Mal. We've got Boofy, but just all these, like I can keep going down the list, and I know I'm gonna forget people because I've made a lot of friends in this process too.
Yeah.
And I've seen people within the community make friends with each other, which like that. Pink, yeah, Pink. See, I'm missing Rio, Pink, all you guys. Like I've made friends with the fans, and I love seeing them make friends with each other, because we need going back to what I said about cynicism, like there's plenty of cynicism out there.
Yeah.
We need less of it. Like it's okay to be, it's okay to like stuff that is embarrassing,
Yeah, and I think what's so cool, especially about like us, I maybe a lot of other people have been doing this lately, but like I think you guys are such a big part of like what we do. Like we read the stuff that you guys put in, and we like sneak it into the book, and we change things, and we go, oh, that's a great idea, or we do this or that, and it's like other creators do that, and they're looking at stuff and seeing what people do and just loving it and being like, I love that you guys love it so much. Like we build the world sort of like with you guys, and it's incredible because it's like we would have never done that without you. We might not have had that idea or that inspiration. And even people like interviewing, like they might not get the job, but maybe they do something that's like, oh, that inspired us, or that piece of art was just so good, it transformed this, or whatever it is. You guys have such an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Even when you do things like buy prints,
Yeah.
Shameless plug here, but be sure to buy prints. And oh, by the way, there's a little thing at the bottom on where to go to buy the prints. But when you guys buy prints and show those off and put them in your room, first of all, I think when you choose like art to put up on your wall, that's such a first of all, that's limited space, and also you could put anything there. And so when I see you guys buying prints and showing that you put them up, like for an artist, that's a such a I cannot express in words. I'm the kind of person, I don't know how many of you are like this, but I never feel like I express my appreciation enough. Like no matter what words I use, I feel like it's not enough to tell you how much that means to me personally. Whenever you buy the art and put it up, or how much you guys love the characters, you know, when you guys obsess over Hugo and Marco, sometimes a little too much, but when you do, it's like it means a lot because they are like children to me, you know, like these are creations that I that mean a lot when you connect with them, you know. So
You know
yes,
what would be
those are
so cool if like we like our community and like us and like what we've built is like somebody else's childhood inspiration. They were like, "Oh, you know Flux Destiny, like I love that." And people in the comments are like, "Oh, I love that as a kid." Like that would be the coolest thing to like get to, where it's like, "Oh man, these people, they had such influence, you know, and that RPG was so cool and it like changed me and now I want to do art," and then they go create stuff. It's just like a cycle, you know, it's so cool.
yeah, absolutely. And I've had people look, now that I am I'm no longer a 20-year-old. I have people who I have people who write me who either saw my work when they were kids, like when I was in my 20s making web comics.
Hmm.
People saw those comics as teenagers, right? And they would write me and tell me that they had been inspired by, like, that's a huge, you don't realize, like as an artist you don't realize that, but when you hear that, shut up Jessica, when you hear about that, when you hear people say that, is such um a moving thing to hear that you know, I don't know how to explain it. I have people, there's a fan of mine, his name is Max. He remembers Cause Effect, my old web comic from like 2001. Like that was doing a cartoony web comic back then. He even had graphics still, like screenshots of it from back then. Like
Yeah.
that's serious, you know, that's serious, and it means a lot to artists. Um, or if you're an artist, you may be an artist like the folks here in our who are joining us today. There may be many artists in here who don't realize that they're impacting other people with their art, you know.
Yeah.
So
Completely. Yeah. Like you never know. You really don't, because and what if you hadn't put that out there, you know? And so that's again just like another piece that's like we might not have been here if Chris had done something different, you know. I certainly wouldn't be here, you know. And so
mhm.
it's just like it's important you could be that piece for somebody else. And that's why we love talking about stuff like our inspirations and things that we go back to, because it's like that push and pull, you know, that the consequences of the things that we do. And you guys make such a good consequence on us. So
It's so true. It's so true. So shall we talk a little bit about the RPG and what's coming out? So I'll let you
yeah.
tee that up.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of really exciting things coming up. As you guys know, in June, or maybe you don't know, and if you don't know, now you're about to know. In June, we're launching like the beta of our RPG. And hopefully soon, within this next week, we're hoping, fingers crossed, we're actually going to release like a maybe a new little character sheet, and we're going to revamp it a little bit. And what's so cool is this is like a community built RPG, and so we're gonna kind of like put it out to people, and we're gonna ask for some input. And we're gonna ask for help. So when we get stuff going, when you see Flux Fantasy posts and when you see new stuff come out, try it, because we need your help. You know, we need you to do it over, like make 100 OCs. You know, because we need a bunch of different combinations, and we need help, and we need input. So yeah, those are the things coming out. Hopefully, really soon we're gonna get a new character sheet. I'm super excited about that. And then afterwards, we're gonna be doing the whole mechanics, and we'll be releasing stories, and yeah, and then after the beta, it'll be like a real product. So you should get in now while you have the chance to sort of influence it.
Okay, so first I have to give Ella her props because she has, so I had all this kind of like draft mechanics that I had come up with, and then she came in and has made such a difference in helping create, like take that and then add to it and bring it to the next level with it. And we cannot wait to share that with you guys, and you guys who are our closest one, especially our Patreon members, you guys are going to be in the beta for sure. And then if you're not in Patreon, you can sign up to the Flux Fantasy email list, and get a chance to be part of the closed beta. So if you go to fluxfantasy.com, there's a little area there where you can sign up, and we're going to be picking people from that.
Yeah.
And we're going to have, people like some of our lore leaders are going to be GMs as part of this too, who are learning this. I'm looking at
Yeah.
you, Mal. I'm looking at you, Boofy. I'm looking at you, Eddie. These guys are like our lore leaders now, right? And these guys really
Yeah.
know a lot about this universe. And when you see the new character sheet that we're going to be releasing, I think next week, right?
Yeah.
That it's like taken to the whole. Now you're going to start seeing the mechanics. You're going to see where things are going. It's so exciting. Like it's
Yeah.
just so cool. When she showed it
And
to me, it was so awesome.
yeah, and if you've never played an RPG, you shouldn't worry. You shouldn't be scared because we're making it in a way that we think is really it's good for beginner players, but it also has a lot of depth to it. So if you're like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to," you should still sign up. Like you might really like it, and it's sort of it's different than anything I think I've ever seen. And I played a lot of different games. It's got a lot of different elements that make it really unique, but also like understandable. Which sometimes, if you play a lot of RPGs, you know that they can be really complicated. So we're really excited that it can kind of go out to a wider range of people. You know that if you have younger siblings or family members who are younger or friends or whoever, or if you're remote, which some games don't do very well remote, that this game might, you will be able to play better.
Absolutely. And it's the whole idea, like she said, was we wanted to create something that wasn't a barrier to entry, right? Like it took me a long time to get into RPGs because I always thought of them being insanely complicated. It's like that's why I couldn't get into Genshin Impact, because for me Genshin Impact is like Breath of
Yeah.
the Wild I love, but Genshin Impact is so demanding, right? That
Yeah.
I can't. And it's like, and so the when I first designed it, and then did like the very early draft, and I brought Ella on and I was talking to her about it, I said the whole point is we want people to be able to tell stories, have a good time, explore their creativity by creating OCs, and
Yeah.
enjoy the magic system with Karmistry that we created for this. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be that you need a PhD to learn this. You should be able to read
Right.
the rules and go, "Oh, I get this. Okay, I
Right.
get this," and go. And that's what we've done with this. But it's not elementary. It's not like it's like baby stuff, but it's not
Yeah.
something that you need a college degree to understand.
Yeah, or like 100 sheets of paper, or
Yeah.
endless amounts of hours with rules. And we want it to be deep, and it will be. And there's going to be a lot of hidden stuff and lore and stat building and all that kind of stuff that people love anyway. But there's also going to be elements of some simplicity that you know we're taking out the hardest parts, that don't quite make sense, or don't quite fit into our world, because we want it to feel really creative. And that's a huge part of Flux, is the people deciding, and making decisions. And so, our RPG is perfect for that, because there's a lot of things that we're leaving up, to the players. And it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really interesting. So we want you all to be able to do it. And especially with your characters, we send them to us. Like, I love watching, like, seeing them grow and helping build them, and all that kind of stuff. And so once we get the new stuff out and you start to see the rules, and make as many as you want, send it to us, because there's actually some new combinations that we're really excited about too, that we hope you mix and match and create something really unique. So it'll be really fun. I think I'm excited about it.
I mean, even I was getting giddy with the new stuff she was introducing and the mechanics. I was like, okay, that's cool. Or that's cool. And we have an OC a character portal that's going to be online that we're in the middle of building right now. So you can go into the OC portal and have a character library and everything. And so
Yeah.
that's being built too. So we're going to be doing the beta in June. We
Hmm.
are creating the rule book will follow the main rule book will follow probably, I would say, what, July, August or so. I don't want to make up,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So relatively soon after that. But we've started already updating Patreon to reflect this. So what's going to happen is the tiers are the same right now, but what they're offering is going to be different. So the $10 tier is the Flux Fantasy tier. Basically, it's like you're going to get the rule book for free. You get the NPC expansion packs, right? Just
Mhm.
Ella. You get sorry, sorry, uh, sorry. Now I'm gonna get hell from Jessica now. So I'm still updating. I had a kind of a situation come up. I couldn't finish updating the third tier on Patreon, but I'm going to finish that tonight.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some awesome community stuff and content that you get as part of it, and we're going to fully. That's going to launch next week, and
Yeah,
fully.
we're hoping to launch. So we're hoping to launch on Monday, like our hard launch, and today is sort of like our soft launch to be like, hey, like if you're a part of our Patreon, which a lot of you guys are, which is so wonderful, is we're kind of like giving more things in the Patreon. I mean, like a lot more things in the Patreon, and we're really excited about it. So we just couldn't hold it in. Like we couldn't wait for the actual like release. So we just got excited, and we were like, let's do it in the live tonight. Let's tell them that we're revamping Patreon, and so there's gonna
Well,
be a
and
lot of cool stuff in there.
and what's important is that you guys to help us like we need your help to bring your friends, right? Like introduce people to the Flux Destiny world, right? A lot of people have become, like I said, friends that way. They brought friends in,
Hmm.
who've kind of discovered it in various ways. Uh, you know, you know, friends from my kung fu class found about it and came in. We got people who get dragged in different ways, and so inviting your friends to come in and join and be part of this community and learn about this new universe, new to them, means a lot. For you guys to invite your friends in, so we're counting on you for that too.
Yeah, so check it out this weekend if you get a chance. We're really excited. It should be, mostly going this next week. And in fact, I think we might have a special live this next week that's Patreon exclusive. So we'll see. It might be
Yeah,
next week, might be the week after, but we're actually really excited about some of the stuff that's in there, and it's going to be so much fun. So
she
yeah, bring your friends, and it's more fun in a chat like this if you guys can talk as well. So we want to make sure that we've got a lot of people that can make fun of Chris all the time.
thanks, Ella. Thanks for encouraging that. I appreciate it. And and I'll um uh, you know look, now you've thrown me off. I don't know what I
I'm
was gonna say.
sorry.
I was
I'm
gonna say
sorry.
something. Oh, okay, that's what I'm gonna say. There's gonna be way more lives now. She's working me to the bone. Like you should see the schedule. She's like, here's the schedule. She's telling me. She's like, here's the schedule. You need to do this. And we're gonna roll out this function now in addition to Discord that you're gonna be able to subscribe to the calendar that will tell you how when the live streams are coming out. Um, so we got a lot going on. You're gonna see a lot of major changes and new things. We're going to be doing one of the tiers that I'm actually really excited about. I need to actually go after this stream. We're going to release a recipe a month that it's inspired by the Flux Destiny universe, and the first one is a cool one. I'm not going to say what it is yet, but it's a fun one. I need to go buy the ingredients because I'm going to go make it. But every month we're going to do a special live stream just for the patrons where I'm attempting to make the recipe. Right, so you're gonna watch me like trying to make this. I am not. I cannot cook anything. Like I'm
Mhm.
DoorDash's like best customer. Okay, like literally they know me by name. DoorDash like corporate knows me because I buy.
Not because your name is on the profile, but because they just know you so well.
They know
Yeah.
me they know exactly what I order. The same thing over and over. So that's gonna be fun. Jessica's gonna come to Dallas at some point. We're gonna make curry together. That should like
Mhm.
we have to roll that into. We should get Jessica's recipe to make it a in-world recipe. We should do that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
um so that's going to be fun to watch. All sorts of cool stuff too. Of course, I'll still do like the sketch streams and things like that, but there's going to be a lot of other things that we do beyond that. So we have other shows that we're put together that's not just sitting down and watching me stream. We will do
We're
those because those are
professional.
like old school. And actually, we will do those on Discord so that we can do like sing along like we used to in the old days, so we don't get copyright strike. But we just got so much stuff going on and so much new stuff that's going to be announced. And yeah, so I just listen as we kind of wind down. I just want to say, as always, I never can feel like I say it enough. Joking aside, I always deeply appreciate you guys believing in this world and this Flux Destiny thing, and believing in me and what we're doing, and supporting us with what you do on Patreon. For you guys who buy all those prints, you don't know how much that means to me when you do that. Like, it's like, you know, those are big deals, and you guys go out of your way to do it. You could put that money into anything, and you buy a print. That's it means a lot to me. And the love that you show Hugo and Marco and these characters, like you don't know how much that means to me. Like, I love that you guys love them so much in this universe. And I will always tell you how much I appreciate it. And I'm so looking forward to the RPG launching, because we are going to have so much fun with that. And we're going to have certified Flux Fantasy GMs who, you know, and we already have in-house ones, Mal, Boof, like we already have these that are going to be the certified, like first round of them. But we're going to have so much fun doing this together. And I can't wait to see your OCs and see your world. And last thing I'll say is thank you for being patient with me during these couple of weeks that I've been kind of like quiet on Discord, because I'm trying to get people hired. Everything going on, like there's so much going on that I haven't been able to spend as much as I normally do. But Ella has been doing a really good job, and my mods, all you guys who are watching the house to make sure no weird stuff goes on, I deeply appreciate that too. So
yeah, if you guys want to be updated about what's going on, make sure that you're on the email list. That's the best way to do it. So go to, you know, our website and sign up. That's the best way. We're going to have so much stuff. It's going to feel overwhelming. So if you want to know all of it, you know, what's coming up in the week, make sure that you're on that. And yeah, we so appreciate you, Chris. And we like the world that you built. So we're glad to be here.
Aw, thank you. Thank you. That's really sweet of you. That really does mean a lot to me. And when you came in, and like I said, when you put that poster of Fortuna behind you, I was like, holy crap. Like, I was like, that is a huge,
I love it.
It means a lot to me. And I don't want to let you guys down. We're going to do all that we can to make this a fun, immersive experience for all of you. So, anyways, well, I put in the chat, fluxfantasy.com, sign up for the updates. And we're going to be in touch. Go to, be sure to join Discord if you haven't already. Jessica, anything? I mean, Ella, I'm so used to having Jessica with me. I'm sorry. So used to having Jessica with me. Yeah. Sorry. Ella, I'm sure she's eating this up, by the way. You know, she's eating this up, that I made this mistake. She's eating it up. Anything else that you want to, before we close out?
No, guys, that's it. This was so much fun. I can't wait to be in more.
Oh, this was great, Ella. Thank you guys so much. When's the next stream? This Friday?
No. So the next stream will be next week. It'll probably be on Monday. So keep a lookout. Keep a lookout.
All right, guys. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Good night. Thanks, Ella.
Bye.
Bye-bye.